And so the key to living your life joyously is actually being proactive about turning and facing the things that are scary and uncomfortable and shameful before they become painful. Making changes
Yeah.
in our life before we're living in a lot of pain is the key to living joyously.
Uh-huh. Cool. So let me take you back to the basics of what to do, because my experience is people only go to the doctor when they're in pain. They only go to the dentist when the tooth is trying to work its way out of their mouth. You know, they only go to the optometrist when they can't hold the piece of paper further away. Why do they go to the optometrist? Because they've got a pain in the neck from tilting their head back. So we are kind of like, we respond to acute. We don't respond to early. You know,
Yeah,
we don't look at this and say to ourselves, if I don't make some changes, this is going to get ugly. We wait till it is ugly.
yeah,
And then, you know, like I was born with this fear of the dentist, and so I'd never go to the dentist. But eventually I went to the dentist and said, I don't care if you climb up on my chest with a jackhammer, just stop this pain. It
mm,
was very reactive, right? You know, I would have saved myself a lot of pain by going early. So
yeah.
what's the trick about going early? What's the trick about, not trick, but, you know, how do we shift
Yeah.
that it's not that bad thing?
Look, it's all about being a master of our own life, right? So mastery is about something that's greater than, a master. And for most of us, our emotions are our master. So we're just scared of going to the dentist. So the master is fear, and that just controls our life, right? Whereas
Hmm.
emotional mastery is about becoming bigger than the fear. And even though
Uh-huh.
it's scary going to the dentist or scary going and talking to somebody that we're nervous about having a real conversation, giving them some feedback, or scary about changing jobs, or scary about listening to our heart and moving to another place, whatever it is, it's all about learning how to overcome discomfort. It's all about turning and facing discomfort, which in the East they call it Tongklan, and it's the key to compassion as well. And so it comes back to realizing that fear, which is mostly why we avoid things, never stopped anybody. It's our unwillingness to be frightened that stops all of us, right? So
Uh-huh.
we wait until we're not going to be scared anymore before we start giving a presentation, starting a meditation group, following a heart, whatever it is. So we think the fear is going to go away, but it never goes away because there's always a bigger level to step up to, isn't
That's right.
there? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's not about getting rid of the fear, because when I run manhood weekends and that, often the guys say, I'm not going to have any more fear of intimacy. And I kind of, that's a joke, they're definitely going home with that. And that's
Yeah.
not really the issue. The issue is they're not going to let that fear of intimacy stop them anymore. And that's called courage. And courage is about taking action even when we're scared. And that
Mm.
comes from mastering our emotions and not letting our head do all the talking, because the head is really creative when we're scared at making up really good reasons why we shouldn't do whatever it is that we're scared about. Right?
Yeah.
We
I'm fond of,
catastrophize,
I'll go on.
Yeah, we
I'm fond of saying
catastrophize.
to people, sorry.
You go, you
I-
go.
I'm I'm fond of saying to people that what you have to do to be scared is you have to go into the future, you have to create a disaster, then you have to bring it back to the present. You have to terrify yourself with it, and then you go, see, it's like an enormously creative process
Yeah,
because it hasn't happened yet.
yeah. False evidence appearing real. People's imagination, they get too far ahead of themselves. And that's because we're not living in the present moment, isn't it? We've
Yeah.
disassociated, we've gone out of our feelings, we're living in our heads, and we're running all these terrible stories, and we're actually thinking that that's the truth, that those
Yeah.
stories are truth. We don't know what the truth is, but the truth is actually here in our bodies, in this moment, just the way that we are. And when we can just live in the present moment, everything gets so much easier and so much simpler. We connected to our heart, connected to inner guidance, keeps us on track in our life so that we can really be be in tune. Like last night, we're sitting at the table, and I'm sitting there with Charlie and Alex and Susan, and I said to Charlie, I said, "When do you think the next episode of Avatar is coming out?" And he looked at me and he said, "Dad, I'm just Googling that on the phone right now." We hadn't talked about it last week or anything. We hadn't talked about it for years. And I don't know where that thought even came from, right? And I'm not saying I'm enlightened or anything, but my focus is on being present and connecting to the here and now. And I believe that we're all connected, and that when we live in the present moment, we are connected to everybody and everything. It's like we're plugged in to the matrix, so we have this amazing capacity to flow, get into flow states in life and connect with people, and really magic turns up all the time.
Yeah. My version of that is that we're all connected and we spend most of our life not realizing it. And therefore, us being all connected appears to be rare because we only turn up in the present for such small periods of time that the vast majority of time spent regretting the past and fearing the future is actually our dominant experience. And so things like that, where you kind of tune into each other, they look rare, but in actual fact, they're pretty common.
Yeah, so the thing is that even when we're present, we're only a little bit present, most of us. We've numbed out our body, we've numbed out our emotions. We just get a little glimpse into the present moment. And I believe that this moment is heaven. If we could fully be here, and that's my goal, is to actually connect to my body fully, to feel my emotions and my heart just connected, flowing, I believe that we would experience that we were already in heaven. And the problem is that we've disconnected, that we've repressed our emotions. We've gone away from those uncomfortable feelings, and we split out of feeling and we go into thinking and disassociation. And that's where most of us are living our life, and it's a big stress bucket.
Yeah, I think it's a big stress bucket, and I think that's, the reason we split off from ourselves is that it takes so much to deal with all of that.
Yeah, which brings us back to your question before. So another aspect of how do we turn and face our feelings when they do get overwhelming, and they can be scary and frightening. And one thing is to just learn some emotional intelligence, some emotional literacy, so we start to understand what's the good purpose of our anger, what's the good purpose of fear, what's the good purpose of sadness. And we realize these are not enemies. These are actually things that are present in our life to empower us. So we start to understand how they're actually showing up in our life for our support. And then the second thing I would say is we need to go gently and slowly. We don't have to crack ourselves open with a sledgehammer. We need to just realize that we're traumatized. Everybody's carrying trauma in their body, and they're disassociated because that's the defense mechanism against the trauma that we're carrying. And so we need to learn how to soften and breathe and connect to what we're experiencing, the sensations and the emotions, and allow them to flow until they come to integration. And we come back in the present moment more and more. Every time we feel a feeling that we've repressed, we become more present. And every time we repress an emotion, we become more disconnected, more disassociated. So the journey coming home to peace and love and happiness in our heart is the journey of processing through the emotions that we've disconnected from and coming back into relationship with ourselves, which brings us back into the present moment and into, here and now.
Cool. That's magic. I'd get you to say that again, but I'll play the recording.